morning and welcome to a chilly but beautiful morning out here in the African bushveld. My name is Brent Leo Smith, and my good friend Dangerous Dave, the delicious dimpled dish, is on camera today. He's trying to hide from you all as usual. Now the reason I'm not stopping is because I'm on those male lion tracks and they're looking quite fresh from this morning, and they are heading towards the south, towards our southern boundary. So I don't want to stop just yet, just in case we can catch them before they make their way across the boundary. Now remember, hashtag Safari Live on Twitter if you have any questions for us, or you can just pop it on whichever feed you're watching on. And I've got a feeling that today is going to be a good day. Now the Nkuhumas crossed back into Djuma last night. I got a message from my brother, and so maybe we'll have lions everywhere. Wouldn't that be pleasant? We've been short of lions for the last while. Okay, now of course I'm not the only one out here. Let's go see what Rolf is following on foot.
Well, good morning everybody, and welcome on the bushwalk sunrise walk this morning. My name is Ralph Kirsten, and on the camera we've got Seb. Morning Seb, how's it? And please everybody, don't forget to join us on the hashtag Safari Live on Twitter and on the YouTube live chat. Send us your questions and your comments and get involved on this reality bushwalk. Now, we've just headed out of camp this morning. We literally haven't walked 50 meters and we've come across this trail of leopard, which has been walking up and down here. It's quite a lot of tracks that we've now had to work out which one is the fresher one, because we've got one going towards camp and we've got another set going away from camp. So we're just in the process of working out which ones are fresher. They are literally within a couple of hours of each other. And what I want to show you is how we also sex a sort of a leopard from a track. So how would we know if it's a male or female? Well, what we're doing here is that would be a front foot, okay, which has been stepped on by the back foot. And with the back foot of a leopard, you can do the same with lions. What you want to do is measure the length of the track versus the breadth. And a male will be pretty much the same length, will be as wide as the track. So we're looking at a male track here, very round. What will happen with a female track is they're pretty much quite a lot longer than they are wide. So a more elongated track with the female, not as round. As you can imagine, their shoulders and their hips as well, not as broad as the males, not as rounded, and so you can think the same in the track as well. So this, very much a male, very much a round track to it, almost the perfect kind of track. If you can imagine a perfect track, it is a leopard track. Lions are also a little bit more elongated, not as perfectly round as a nice leopard track. Now, Herbie's just looking up that side, but, we all always think, what is the bush going to throw at us? And we need to follow what the bush throws at us. So our plan for this morning, I think, is going to be to try and follow these tracks. It's more than likely somebody of the likes of Hosanna, and so I think we're going to try and follow up and see if we can find him. Might be exciting. He might put us on a wild goose chase. Who knows? But that's what we've got to wait and see. Anyway, that's us for the morning. We're going to be taking the trail. Let's head you off to David and see what his plan is for the day.
Hello everyone and everybody, and how are you all doing? And a very big welcome to our morning sunrise safari drive from Djuma in South Africa. My name is David. On the camera is Craig. And we're very excited to have you with us today. I'll let you know, this is my first solo. It's my first debut. I'm doing my premiere safari drive on my own. I could be a bit nervous, not very much. I'll make a few mistakes here and there, and I request you to make a few corrections here and there also. Beautiful morning we got here. And remember, this is a very interactive safari drive. Keep in touch with us on #Safari Live on Twitter or on the YouTube chat. My plans today is to head out around the Chitwa Dam. Is one particular location I have loved. But again, between here and there, a lot of things would happen. As I said the other day, it was exciting to see so many leopards around this area that I've never seen in Kenya. Alrighty, we're going to head out that direction and see what could be happening around the dam area. And as I said, between here and there, we could bump into a cat or another big mammal. Very good. Thank you, nice people, and thank you for staying on board. Be with us as long as the safari drive will run. And I've noticed there are always a lot of exciting things from here at Sabi Sand. Bowie, I come from a country called Kenya. And my surname could be rather difficult. I have two of them. I'll give you two to you to choose which one you would like. The first one is Githu. That's Githu. If you'd like a second one, it's Gathimba. Gathimba. You've got a choice of those two. David Githu or David Gathimba. Question and when you can, give me your surname, please. As a way to get your surname, Bobby, we'll take you across to Brent and find out what you got for us.
Bye-bye, lions. They've gone south. And I just got a report from my brother. The Nkahumas have gone far to the east in coral. So my lion prospects have gone from very good to very bad in the space of about 5 minutes. So I think I'm going to go look for Tundi. What else to do, you know? What else? So we're going to head towards the eastern side of Djuma. Well, it happens. Have a quick look around Twin Dams. Maybe one lion decided not to go all the way, but I doubt. I think both of them have gone. Now, very interesting, they did not make a peep last night. Which is quite fascinating. The fact that they did not make a peep last night. Not one loud vocalization claiming their territory back. Now, James and I were discussing it after drive last night. There is a sort of possibility we haven't really considered now, is that the Birmingham split. Coalitions do that, and so Birmingham's become 2 and 2. So there is always the possibility that they could split, with two or one of the males staying up in the north and the others heading south. But the fact that they were so quiet last night, which is unusual, it's just really, it's going to be very interesting over the next while to see what they get up to. Now, speaking of other old or wayward males, Tingana. There actually hasn't been any word on Tingana for about 10 days or so. I'm sure he's still knocking about somewhere. But yeah, we haven't seen any word of him. Oh, Dad. On top of the squarry bush. Oh, well done, David. Female chin spot batis. Isn't it pretty? Oh, such a gorgeous little bird. Very quick movers. That is a stick, David. I think she's gone. No, there she is. She's back. calling as well. There we go. Very beautiful. So the male has a little orange spot in the white under the throat that gives the species its name, the chin spot batis. The female doesn't have the chin spot. Very pretty. Little fly catchers. All the batises are fly catchers. Oh, off she goes. Okay, so now where to go? We said we're going to go to the east, see if we find any sign of the beloved Tandakile. As I say, the lions have disappeared to the south, and the Nkumas have gone east. Well, you know that's what happens. And as I say, it's just really interesting about the fact that those lions were silent last night. Well, there was a nice track somewhere around here for the male lions. Here we go. So that's them heading south, and you can see it's fresh from the dark coloration of the sand, so we didn't miss them by too long. Okay, well, let's go to Ralph, who's following a male leopard track.
Well, everybody, yes, we are. We're just trying to get the last little clues here, working out exactly where this leopard has gone, because he's done a bit of circling here. Now, we need to work out which direction was the last one that he actually went in. But while we've been doing that, as always, we find all sorts of other fascinating things. And here is a lovely track of a hyena. At the back there, we can see a very nice two-lobe, and slightly slanted to the side, where this animal is moving in that direction. However, the back pad or the proximal pad very slanted on the side there. Very kidney-shaped toes on the outer edges. That one a little bit nondescript. It's sort of caved in with the sand, but that one very kidney-shaped over there. And if you had to look very closely, you would see claw marks as well. There's another one that goes up over there. This is a back foot, and that is a front foot. Quite a lot larger on the front foot than it is on the back foot. As you also see with the hyena, their body, their build indicates that the front foot being a lot larger than the back foot. Now, this being a spotted hyena, with a brown hyena, the back foot can almost be half the size of the front foot, and very, very different in size. And back in the old days, a lot of the farmers used to think that the hyenas were often walking around with babies because of that very, very small back foot that would be following on with the big front feet. So they would see these big front feet saying, oh, there's the adult hyena, and seeing the very, very small back foot saying that the babies are following. Now, that's the hyena that have been walking around. However, we've still got the tracks here of the male leopard once again. Now, we picked up the first tracks just over there, and if you can see, there's camp. So we are literally, as I said, when we first picked up the tracks, we're about 50 meters out of camp. We're about 80 meters out of camp now, so we haven't moved very far. But we're just trying to put the pieces of the puzzle together of what's been happening. These tracks, very, very fresh. I know that there was a leopard calling last night. We're thinking this is Hosanna, but Hosanna hasn't really been calling. Rexon showed me how to see if it is Hukumuri. He said in the left foot there's a very nice claw mark that we're seeing in the track of Hukumuri, which we're not seeing in this. So from the tracks we're thinking it's Hosanna, but we're a little bit confused with the calling of a leopard. unless Hosanna did decide to do a bit of calling, or maybe Hukumuri is also in the area. It all remains to be seen. We need to follow these tracks and find out, because in the last couple of days we have really had a lot of leopard tracks right in this general vicinity, and they all seem to move up into that area near to Galago, Pan, and in that block between Galago and Aubrey's Road. So that's an area just to our sort of southwest of the camp, and so very exciting. It seems like there's at least 3 leopards in the area, 1 female, potentially 2 males, potentially even 3 males. Maybe it's Tingana, Hosanna, maybe Hukumuri, and then possibly Shudulu, because there's been a female track as well, and maybe there's even more, who knows. So very interesting, and we can also eventually land up where that carcass is in the tree that Steve found. We want to go and head in that sort of general direction, but it's all up in the air for now. We just need to find the most definitive clue and start to follow it. And there will be a little bit of stuff on the road today because of this particular reason. Leopards also will take the route of the easiest route, the route with the least opposition, so they'll go on the road a lot as well, just saving energy as opposed to walking up through the grass. But I'm sure there's a couple of game paths that we're going to go and access, so let's start heading on, and we'll start to see if we can get a little bit closer. As I said, Herbie's just headed up a little bit in front. Laura, there's been so many leopards around. It's so exciting, and we just need to be nice and quiet. Just take the tracks, and I'm sure this morning I've got a good feeling about it. It's nice and cool. It's only about 17 degrees Celsius, around 64, 65 degrees Fahrenheit, a little bit overcast. That does make the tracking a little bit difficult, but luckily enough, I've got my very strong torch, so we can put some contrast on the tracks, and that's why I carry it for specifically days like this, when there's not really that light to put the contrast onto the tracks. We can now do it ourselves and at least help us to find these animals. Now, Cheeky Beaky Beth, leopards will start to call or soar once they start to hit sexual maturity, but when they're confident enough that they're in an area where they wouldn't potentially get eaten if they had to start calling. So if they are confident enough, like Tingana at the moment, Tingana, Hosanna, they may be a little bit scared, not scared, but holding back a little bit from calling. Both of them are both old enough to be calling, sort of, from about 3-4 years of age, they could be doing that. But there's Hukumuri in the area, so they don't really want to be giving themselves away, because potentially they could be in for a street fight, and Hukumuri seems quite adept at being a street fighter. He's not the biggest male leopard I've ever seen, but it seems like he commands respect, because he's been scent marking, moving through, and calling, and as soon as he started doing that, all the other leopards have started to get nervous. They've also moved out of the area and also gone quiet, stopped scent marking, etc. So they want to stay under the radar, away from Hukumuri, because it seems like he's ready for a fight and looking to pick one as well. So very interesting, and he seems to be following up with Shudulu, so very interesting there. Okay, everybody. Oh, there's a couple of little birds that came through. So we're going to try and pick up on these tracks, see where they take us, and look for everything else in between. In the meantime, off to David. I think he's heading to that lovely dam of ours.
Yes, and this morning we got lots of trucks everywhere. We just saw some huge amount of trucks, of lion trucks, which have been from last night. I will not be able to know exactly what pride that was. Could have been the Nukuhuma pride. And Raf had also had other leopard trucks again earlier. So this morning I think it's trucks and trucks everywhere, but you're going to be finding out where these cats are. Last night we had lots of thunderstorms going on the whole night, and we expect a very big storm to come. The cloud, Craig, if you look up there, you can see it still looks a bit dark, but that doesn't mean it could be raining this morning. But from what I had last night, the thunderstorms would not stop. They kept going on almost the whole night. And in Kenya, I want to show you what's happening back home in Kenya, because small streams have changed into rivers, small wells have changed into dams, and roads have changed into big rivers. This is what's happening back home in Kenya right now. And that is my colleague Tristan, and what a great job he is doing there to try and maneuver on a river which used to be a road. What we have gathered is catfish and mudfish are just jumping up and around as they're driving, and they don't need to fish them. They're just catching them with their hands and putting them in their vehicles there and going to do very good lunch. Isn't that wonderful? And while I do not think so, we have very, very good presenters, and he is doing a very good job, and he's still surviving the last 2 weeks. These rains are rains we have not seen in a long time, and hopefully they will stop. If they don't, then I am going to stick here a little bit longer in South Africa. So we are getting very close to my destination, the Chitwa dams. So let's head out there and find out if those trucks we have seen could lead there, either the lions going for a drink or anybody else could be around that area. Alrighty. Warming up then this morning. Bobby, very many thanks for giving me your surname and for your anniversary. Happy anniversary, and may you have a good one. Asante sana, thank you very much. Feeling much warmer than when we started this morning. Craig, do you agree? Mercy, how are you today? And your question is the driving, or the difference between the driving here and in Masai Mara. I'm not sure that Mercy, you can see this very well. The kind of vehicles we drive here are very different from what we have in Kenya. I'm not sure you can see that. That is my foot and leg outside. I don't have a door in this car. And the other day, we were watching the Leopard Hosanna with James, and I was a very scared boy because I kept moving and leaning away from Hosanna, and James Henry kept telling me, David, relax, nothing gonna happen. The vehicles in the Mara got rooftops. This one have nothing. And it's a very different ballgame for me, trying to imagine if one leopard doesn't like my face for one reason or another, I'll be gone. But so far, 1 week, and I'm still surviving, and I'll keep going. So that's one major difference. And secondly, here you tend to get very, very close to the animals, say what they call a high-profile game, or the big cats, for example, be they lions or leopards, you get pretty close. In Kenya, it's difficult to do that because off-road is not allowed. So those, I would say, are the two major differences between Kenya and here where I am in South Africa. And also the vegetation is huge, big difference. In Kenya, the big habitat, we have the open grassland, we have the savanna. Here, the bushes, the trees, the scrub, the thickets are huge. You rarely see, I would say, 1 mile straight. In Kenya, you could see comfortably 20, 30 miles straight. You know, so those are, I would say, the three main differences, Mercy, between Kenya and South Africa. Alrighty. Pretty close now. We'll be getting to my final destination, WildEarthTV, the Chitwa Dam. But Brent is on Hot Hills looking for Tandy the leopard.
Well, we have found nice fresh tracks of Thandi and Kalamba, so I'm just trying to see which way they're going at the moment. And the one way they didn't go is this way. So they're back up on Cheetah cut line. Looks like they cut in back into Djuma. Okay. Let's see, the last tracks we had were just over here. Okay, we're going to check very carefully. I think these leopards are not far off. And it's on top of the rain. We had a little bit of rain last night. And this is where the Nkuhumas went through. So we've got lion tracks and leopard tracks. Now we just try to figure out who's who in the zoo and who went which way. Here we go. So they came off and they've now cut back towards the north. And you see, where's that stick? There. Just looking there, Dave. There. There's a clearer one if we come a little bit back, I think. I'm just trying to figure out where the stick is. There. On the west side there. We can see the ants. But so the tracks are not that clear, so this light makes life a bit difficult. But they are nice and fresh. They're from this morning on top of the rain. Both of both Thandi and Kalamba. So I'm wondering if Thandi is not successfully caught something and she's taking Kalamba back to the kill. Okay, we're going to send you not to Aquaman, but to an Aquabuck apparently.
Right, good luck, Brent, and hopefully you will see our lovely Thandi. But in the meantime, I would be happy and proud to say I have spotted my first animal on my own. Well, I'm with Craig, but I feel excited that I would stop and point out to Craig and say, wow, there is a big antelope there. And Scotty would like to call it, this is an aquabuck. Until I got to South Africa, I was calling them waterbucks, but since then the name has changed to aquabucks. And it's a big boy, big male there. And it's trying also to give us some nice facial greetings for the morning. It's quite, yeah, just winked there. I think they heard me. And I said, right, hello there. Looks to be a quite prime male for me. Really, you say it's a beautiful animal, and I would agree with you. Yes, it is. And this particular waterbuck or aquabuck is what you call the common waterbuck. Allow me just to reposition, slightly move forward, because there are two of them. And Lily, I'll give you the bonus of seeing a second one, or maybe even a third one. How's that, Craig? Really, if you look carefully now, in another few seconds, Craig will show you the female. And you can see they are both equally good looking. And certainly, you notice the female doesn't have the horns. They're not eating very far from the Chitwa Dam, and I would think the water around the dam makes the grass here quite nutritious. And as the name implies, waterbucks or aquabucks, they will always in general be found pretty close to water, not very far from the water. They're very water dependent. They drink lots of water. I wouldn't know what would happen if they don't get water. And That's one of the reasons you don't get them in the desert or dry, semi-arid areas. In general, you get them high elevations or areas with enough water, be it streams, wells, rivers, lakes, dams like the Chitwa. And you'd like to know if the waterbacks rat like the impalas. The waterbacks do not, and they do not have like synchronized mating or the time they bring down their young ones. Waterbacks do not do that. Just the impalas. In general, I'd say the animals that rat all have synchronized mating or breeding season, as far as I'm concerned, will be the impalas here in Kruger National Park, where we are. And if I go back to East Africa, I would talk of the wildebeest doing the same. So those are the only two animal species that I know have a particular breeding season that is very, very, I would say, consistent. I'm not sure the male is getting full now and starting to have a rest and maybe being a ruminant, start chewing cud. Very, very good looking horns there. Yeah, should be chewing cud by now. As they get full, they regurgitate what they have eaten and start chewing it to make it more fine. Was that, you'd like to know why the waterbacks have the white rings on their bums? Not very sure, but I would guess that could be a follow me sign. That's what I would say. Not very, very sure, but maybe also that helped to break that monotonous or the brown color on their bums. But I would easily say it could be a follow me sign. That could be my very good guess. I'm not 100% sure about that, but yeah, I would think it's a follow me sign. Not sure. She is heading to the dam now for a drink, and she's walking fast. And those two are the males there to the left, Craig. I do not know. One male was trying to sneak in near the female, and if you look carefully, the one male we see running now kind of pushed the other one away, and he is hot on heels following the female, which just ran, and I think he is courting her. So there's one that just sneaked from nowhere, and the one we saw running very, very quickly pushed it out. And let's see what might unfold here. I'll move forward a little bit, but I think she could be in estrus. Tusky, I hope I got your name correct. I haven't had them making any alarm calls here, but thank you very much. And I would think certainly they do make alarm calls just like the waterbacks, should they see or, sense or hear something they don't like a cat. I'm not sure they go something like, blah, blah, blah. I would guess that could be the alarm call they would make. But most antelopes, they will always give an alarm call or alarm once they see or hear something that could threaten their lives. So they ran and came back. You can see the male there came in this direction and followed the female, and the other male is just tagging along. I'm not sure, but I got a feeling this female here would be in estrus, and if that's the case, maybe both males are trying to look for chances to mate with her. He's just posing thinking, and I'm sure he's watching the other male, wondering, don't try to come close to my girl, eh? So that's the direction the other one ran to. And I would think between the two, yeah, this is trying now to go back for him. I'm not sure he might go for have a go to each other, and he's trying to threaten him. Please keep your distance away from my beautiful girl here. And if I compare, look, both of them, this one to me looks to be like to be the prime guy, and that could be an indication to the other male, don't play games, as he does his business there. Could be a clear message to the other male, I'm in charge, And as we wait to see if there could be more of a drama between these two males, the gentleman on the walk is still tracking tracks.
Yes, everybody, we still are on the trail. It seems that Hukumuri, or we're thinking it's not him, maybe Hosana and possibly Shudulu as well, have come into this block where I actually suspected that we were actually moving in. And this morning I actually said to Seb, we should come and have a look in this block, because this is where all the leopards seem to be moving in and through. So it seems like my hunch has been quite correct this morning, and sometimes you need to go with your gut feel. And once again, what do we do when we're trying to find animals? Well, we need to think like animals, and we're on the trail of Hukumuri, possibly Shudulu. What does Shudulu mean? It means termite mound, termitaria, because she likes going up these termite mounds. So let's do exactly that. Let's head up top, just have a look around, see if we can pick up any alarm signals. We've got some crested francolins just doing their normal calling over there to our east. But we need to be listening out for all the animals in the westerly direction. So the sun is going to be going over us like this. That's pretty much the direction that we're moving in. And we want to be concentrating on this particular area to our west, on this side here. So any kind of kudu bark or nyala bark, that's going to be our dead giveaway. For the moment, we're just hearing birds doing their normal morning chorus, proclaiming their territories. Nothing untoward for the minute, nothing alarm type, and any monkeys or anything like that, picking them up. Impala, because the area that we're heading to, sort of sandy patch, Impala Plains, there's a lot of impala around there, and they're often the ones that help us find these leopards. So that's the idea this morning. Still need to just be listening out and picking up on any of these little clues, little signs. So it's still nice and fresh, early start. We're on to fresh tracks, and we know that because they're on top of the rain that we had last night. So I've got a good feeling about this morning, and we've got a nice build-up happening here. And speaking of build-ups, let's head on over to Brent and see how his tracking is going.
Well, it is getting a little bit more confusing because another player has entered the mix, and that is a male leopard. So our last tracks of Thandi and Tlalamba are probably about 100 meters that way, and here it looks like a male leopard had an argument with a hyena last night, just from the tracks. So you can see this massive nonsense that happened there. A mixture of male leopard and hyena tracks, and I'll show you the nice clear male leopard track now, also on top of the rain, so also fresh. You got them there, Dave? There we go. So that's the male leopard tracks there. So I'm not sure what's going on. Now that both sets of tracks look to be about the same age, Thandi and Tlalamba and that male. I'm not sure which male it could be. It could be Tingane in this area as well. But the last tracks we had of Thandi and Tlalamba are up on this corner here, and these male tracks go in here. So I wonder if he hasn't maybe robbed them of a kill. So I'm just going to go very slowly again, back where we've just been. I might switch off for a while and listen and see if we can get any audio of anything, and I'm now checking in the trees to see if there's a dangling impala. Now, strange enough, this is almost exactly where Thandi killed that stenbok last week. Now, as I said, it looked like hyena and leopard scuffle there. Saskia, yes, I've seen hyena and leopard scuffle many times over the years. It's not that uncommon. This is Thandi and Klaramba's tracks for the last. No, they're still here. So around here is where they disappear. There's an upset Franklin there, just down around there. I can hear chirr, chirr. Okay, I'm going to jump out of the car quickly, try and make 100% sure what is going on. While I do that, I'm going to send you across to David, who's at his favorite spot in the Lowveld.
Alright, Brent, you may need to do some extra work to see where these cats are hiding by following the tracks closely, and I finally got at my favorite spot, and that is a hammerkop there. And I would want to believe that hammerkop is fishing, eh? Very good camera work there by Craig. Because flying on the dam, and I'm not sure it caught something, but it has been doing this the last 3 minutes. There it goes, dips in. Then it comes out. I'm not sure it is very, very successful, but it has done that about 5 times now. I haven't seen it eat anything. I do not know what it's looking at, but maybe it's trying to do what other bird species do better, like the kingfishers. There it goes. Yeah, Craig, wonderful, pretty good job. Keeps going. Come on, get some fish for yourself. You get some breakfast, eh? I'm not sure doing just some morning joggings and, you know, enjoying being over the water, because they normally not feed or, you know, get food like the kingfishers. I'm sure they got something there. I doubt. And there's an egret just close to it there, the white bird, the greater egret there. I don't see it eating anything, so it needs to learn a few skills from the kingfishers, who are very, very efficient in doing what she was doing, and more so the pied kingfisher. We've seen a few hovering around. The pied kingfishers have been known to very good, specialized when it comes to hovering as they get their food. See where they're gonna get a kingfisher now. Craig, did you see some kingfishers a few seconds ago flying across the dam? Yeah, I'm sure you're going to get some. There's a pair here that is, you know, flying up and down. And you see, kingfishers are very, very good. And most of the pied kingfisher, which will just hover up and they just start hovering, looking down, looking down, looking down, and they just go, pew, and they catch the fish. And chances are they'll always come back. I think, yeah, that's right. You see there? Well done, Craig. It's just patch on that dead tree there to your left. You can see there's a data. Well done, Craig. We've got 2 birds there. Well done, Craig. That's the kingfisher I was talking about on the left, the pied kingfisher. And the bigger bird there is the African darter. Interesting bird, as big as it looks. When you see the African darter in the water, it merges the whole body in, and the neck and the head remain outside. And sometimes you might think it's a snake swimming in the water, and sometimes you call this African darter the snake bird. Ryan, you say you love watching kingfishers. Very good. And me too. See what it just did there? And Ryan, I love kingfishers, and more so this one here, the pied kingfisher, because of its efficiency in the success in getting its food, Ryan. Going down and back. Interesting, more often than not, it will always come back to the same spot it was before, going for fishing. And pretty long, strong beaks. Djuma, you'd like to know what is my favorite species of the kingfishers. As I was just telling Ryan, I would say the pied kingfisher. And yesterday I was answering a question from one of the viewer, and we were talking about zebras, and I said why I love the zebras is because of the black and white colors they got on the stripes. And if you look at the pied kingfisher, they are also like the zebras, black and white. And there's always something with me in my life with black colors and white colors. They look very, very simple. They're the very basic colors you get in the wild. And I would say the pied kingfisher is my favorite kingfisher. Look at how it gets fish, unlike all the other kingfishers. Patches, looks, judges, makes a decision and goes choop. Or when it doesn't do that, it might stay above the water, keep hovering, creates more little shade or shadow to the fish, and the fish get mesmerized, looking up, and the next minute the kingfisher just goes right down and gets the fish. I mean, the colors and way of fishing are two things that I like about the pied kingfisher. You think Craig he's gone, or he's still there? Hope, Djuma, that helps convince you why I love the pied kingfisher than all the other kingfishers. And the rest are equally beautiful too, but for its hunting or feeding habit makes it, to me, being my favorite. Great, can you see the huge fishy in the background there? I don't know if you're able to get on camera. It's way back towards the... Very good. Yeah, that's African fish eagle. Huge, and they do lots of fishing. I don't think they're as good as the kingfishers, but they would go more for, say, if the Egyptian geese, they'll go for the goslings of the Egyptian geese, as much as they eat a lot of fish, but they also go for smaller birds in the water. Huge eagles. And as I keep enjoying my stay at my favorite spot, Ralph is still tracking.
Now, everybody, this is very exciting because we've had so much movement of these leopards right around quarantine, heading on Voyatella access, moving in this sort of, on a little bit west from camp, but right in the general vicinity. Now, the track that I'm showing you here, and just to put a bit of light on it, just so that you can see it there, just at the tip of my stick. Okay, and I take the light away. You see how it changes things completely. But what I was indicating earlier, how to sex from a track, this now is a different track. It's a different individual leopard. This is also the back foot. Okay, so we take the length of it, which is pretty much like that, and compared to the breadth, you see how much longer it is than it is wide. Okay, so that's very indicative of a female track. Now, if I compare it to a little track over here, you see how much longer it is than it is wide. Okay, so that's very indicative of a female track. Now, if I compare it to a little track over here, you see how much longer it is than it is wide. Okay, so that's very indicative of a female track. Now, if I compare it to a little track over here, you see how much longer it is than it is wide. Okay, so that's very indicative of a female track. Now, if I compare it to a little track over here, you see how much longer it is than it is wide. Okay, so that's very indicative of a female track. Now, if I compare it to a little track over here, you see how much longer it is than it is wide. Okay, so that's very indicative of a female track. Now, if I compare it to a little track over here, you see how much longer it is than it is wide. Okay, so that's very indicative of a female track. Now, if I compare it to a little track over here, you see how much longer it is than it is wide. Okay, so that's very indicative of a female track. Now, if I compare it to a little track over here, you see how much longer it is than it is wide. Okay, so that's very indicative which is also the back foot, and it's obviously just as this animal was stepping down a little bit, but still a nice clear track here. Over here we take the length of it versus the breadth, and it's pretty much equal. Also the back foot. So this is a male. Now we've got a male and a female walking along this road at almost exactly the same time, if not at the same time. And we've had this now regularly for the last few days. Between Herbie and myself, and I'm sure the other guys would agree, especially Steve, he also saw this. There was a scat just on the corner as well with a lot of movement around it. I think this is Shudulu and Hukumuri, and I think they're mating. So this could be very exciting for us. Hopefully this happens. We need to be careful now when we're walking. We might hear them mating. Hopefully that's what's going to happen. And if that is the case, well, how exciting would that be? Maybe Shudulu will den up here nearby, and it could be absolutely fantastic going forward for us. But I'm just speculating, so nothing for real just yet. But it's lovely to speculate, isn't it? So, as we continue on and see if that is indeed fact, girl and boy, leopards possibly mating, very exciting. Let's head you on over to David with one of those punk birds.
All right, Ralph, good luck, and see whether you'll get those leopards. But just there we had a beautiful crested barbet. Let's see. Yeah, it's still there. Well done, Craig. And that's one barbet I have found here in South Africa, that we do not have this particular species in East Africa, and that is the crested barbet. I love barbet, and I don't know how many other barbets will be seeing around here, but this particular one, it's so cute to me, and more so because of the crest it has, eh? We have a very similar one back in Kenya that is called the Usadbriro barbet. We've got so many barbets in Kenya, but this particular, every 1 minute I've seen it, I've really liked it. Can zoom it in more, Craig, Sebastian, very good. Yeah, that's very, very good. It just took off. It was feeding earlier on a particular worm, I would think, and we'll show you how it looks like closely also. If you're able to get there, Craig, you can see. And look at that, and here, very good. And you can see this is the map of Kenya right there, and we do not have it anywhere in Kenya. The country below here is a country called Tanzania, and they'll have it here. So I think it's more from Tanzania coming south towards Mozambique, Malawi, all the way to South Africa. But as you move beyond Tanzania to the north, you do not have it anywhere. So seeing it, I've seen it in Tanzania, but seeing it here have really excited me, and seeing it again this morning, that was pretty special. All right, we're going to be heading out and leaving our dam now, and as much as I love it, I can promise you I'll swing by here much later and see whether we might be able to see bigger mammals. All right. While we do that, Brent is still hot looking for leopards.
These tracks are becoming more and more confusing. Now, the last tracks of Thandi and Tlalamba come in here, and I'm wondering if she not went down into this little river system here, where she often does like to come. She's often left Tlalamba in this area as well. And we'll go check the little water hole at the bottom. That might be the best spot. It doesn't look like they've walked down the road. They might have walked down the riverbed there. And, well, chatting about leopards, James, yes, there have been quite a few more sightings of the skittish female and 2 cubs in Boffel's Hook, unfortunately, not where we have access. So we're arriving at this little waterhole. I always like to check carefully. I'm going to go see if there are any footprinties there as well. This is becoming a hot zone. This little water hole, because there isn't much else water around here except the elephants have done us all a disfavor and splished and splashed in it so much that it's become smaller. Let's go have a look. Let's have a quick look through here. No tracks over there. Let's go look on the water's edge. We have had warthog. Elephant have made a big mess. Kudu. Impala. Franklin. What has slipped in the mud here? Tortoise, but alas, no leopard. So I think we're going to zoot around again and head back up towards Drakensberg. So they must be quite close to Drakensberg Road at the moment. Okay, I'm really waiting to see leopards in my favorite Timbuti tree again. Now, the last leopards I saw in my favorite Timbuti tree was, I think it was Shungila actually, was the last leopard I saw in my favorite Timbuti tree. No leopards in the Timbuti tree, David? No. Oh dear. We'll keep moving. There's another little waterhole just up here, but it's much, much smaller. Somewhere just over here. Maybe Tundi heard that altercation between the male and the hyena and decided to skedaddle. Okay, I'm going to put all my good vibes and focus on trying to find some spots this morning. In the meantime, David has found the home of a feathered friend.
Yes, this is a very huge nest as we come back from the guys tracking the leopards up there, and it must have been kind of deserted hammercop nest way back, because hammercops like the one we were just watching a few minutes ago will build these massive, huge nests, and sometimes when they desert them, other birds will take over. And I just learned from my good friend here, Craig, we have some barn owls who have now patronized this particular nest. So we've been here trying to see if any of them will pop up, whether you can see the head or the face or the beak. So far not yet, but there have been a pair of breeding barn owls in this nest. See how Mother Nature works out things here. You'll get one species doing something and another one taking over. When the hammercops, did their thing and they finished mating, breeding, they had their eggs and chicks, they took off. Then other birds are like, you know what to do, we're going to take over here. We have seen that happening, so many birds, like the brood parasites, where some will use others' nests and, breed and lay their eggs there and they hatch there. Just also out there we got the termites who will build these nice apartments, and then they get patronized either by snakes or mungus or, monitor lizards. So there's a lot of good dynamics that will happen in the wilderness here, depending. It doesn't matter who builds the home, and someone else will always take over. So we'll just leave the nest now because we didn't see anything happening here, and keep doing a loop and see whether we'll see more, we'll see big mammals. Elephants I'm thinking of. I've been trying to smell of elephants. I would like to see elephants on my own this morning before we head back. All right? Let's do this. Hopefully we'll see some today. We'll keep trying, Craig. All right? Okay. Hold on, Craig. Pangolin, you'd like to know what is my favorite animal and why. I would say, let me see. When it comes to big mammals, I would say the elephant. Elephant because on any elephant sighting you are on, you rarely see a flat elephant. They'll always be doing something or saying something. And many times they'll also communicate with you. So if you misbehave, if you do something you don't like, they let you know. So pangolin, I would say my favorite animal is the elephant, and for those reasons. All right. And hopefully I'll get some for you today and also show you why truly I love them. Sorry about that. Ralph is still on the leopard search.
Yes, well, everyone, I am on the leopard search, but we always stop for everything else, and this is quite a nice aardvark burrow here, and I actually want to get in a little bit closer because we often say that these can be used by all sorts of animals. That's why I was just having a check that we didn't get charged at by something running out of the hole here. But if you look nice and closely on the sides of this, you can actually see the scratch marks from the aardvark that has made this burrow, and very clear. They've got two claws like that, and one a little bit set, a little bit backwards, and they use that. They are extreme diggers, and they say that 3 men with spades have tried to dig out aardvark, and he digs out the back before you can get anywhere near him. So that's the sort of speed that these guys can dig at. It's absolutely phenomenal. And well, they dig for different purposes, etc. We've been through that a few times, but always nice to stop and check and see if there's any activity around these aardvark holes. Lots of times you'll find warthog tracks near to the mouth. One of the things that are very indicative that there is something inside is if there's a lot of flies around the entrance, because then that indicates that there's an occupant inside. Another way to realize if there's nobody inside, if you have a lot of spider webs. And then, obviously, with hyena and bigger animals, warthogs included, you'll often look for just a change in the soil color. Because if I dig here, you can see the soil color from there to there. It's a lot darker on this soil here to there. And normally you'll see big scrapings of that when it's been excavated by something. Now, it looks like there's that kind of thing just in the side wall here. So there could be a rodent or something living inside there. I haven't had a look. Now, Carol, these burrows, they'll generally go down for about 1.5 meters, 2 meters, and then there'll be a big chamber. Sometimes it turns to the left or right, and then the chamber is there. But there's always a bit of a bowl, and then it can go up a little bit. But sometimes also once it hasn't been used for a while, it does cave in a little bit and then would need a little bit more of excavation. Now, it would be quite easily to stick our heads in there and have a look, but the reason I won't is because there could potentially be a black mamba waiting in there for me, and as I stick my head in there, he'll just bite me on my forehead. So I'm not going to exactly do that right now, because you get bitten by a black mamba out here, the chances of survival are very slim. So we won't want to be doing that and putting ourselves in harm's way, although it would be wonderful to have a look. Yes, and Seb is just pointing out there's a couple of millipede rings down there. King Quad, it's almost a little bit like Lord of the Rings down there. I'm a little bit scared that Gollum might be waiting for me. I'm not going to be sticking my hand in there just yet. Gizmo, yeah, they do look a bit like beer caps, don't they? Well, they are very... They are really calling me to go down in there and grab them, but I'm not going to. I think that might have been from a civet or from the mongoose, something like that, because remember, millipedes are quite noxious as well. I think they've got cyanide in them, if I'm not mistaken. It's one of those heavy toxins that if you had to eat a millipede, I think you would die quite a terrible death. But civets and mongoose, they're able to eat them and neutralize that terrible toxin that they have. But there's not many other animals that can feed on them, so that's quite a specialized feeding or food that you can eat as a millipede. But we very often find where the civets, we call it a civet tree. My precious, yes, but I'm really feeling like I should be going in there now, but I'm still worried about there being a black mamba, so I'm not going to, as much as Gollum might be calling me and those rings are waiting down the bottom, I'm not going to go in. And civets, obviously, they can literally live on millipedes, and you find a lot of those rings in their dung, in their dung middens, and we call their middens civet trees, and they leave a very big scat, and often full of these civet rings. But that was quite a big one, whatever ate that. So, as I say, these aardvark burrows, home to all sorts of things and a real mecca for finding all sorts of other little tracks and burrows in the side here. I'm sure there's something living in this one over here. This is very fresh. You see this excavation coming out over there. So always exciting to stop next to a termite mound. It's wonderful. I totally enjoy it. So we'll never walk past one of these. Plus, added to the fact that once again, we can go up top and we can have a look, because it seems like Shudulu and Hukumuri and possibly another male, which is really now making this exciting. It seems like there's 2 males and a female. I wonder if Hosana or Tingana is now also trying his luck with Shudulu. This could make things really, really interesting. There's at least 2 males and a female within exactly the same time walking around this particular area. We're heading towards Philemon's Dip. We've got some of the other vehicles. They're also helping us on this tracking mission, and we're going to just really try and see if we can find these 3 leopard, or one of them would do at least. And one of the things that would give away the presence of a leopard is a guinea fowl, and it seems David's got one of those.
Yes, the giveaways or the alarmist when they see cuts are the guinea fowls that we got here, and some people sometimes will call them the Guinea Hens, and see how hungry they are, feeding on the seeds from the grass there. This particular species of the guinea hen are the helmeted guinea hens. You see something like a helmet on their heads. And one thing about guinea hens, they always go in big groups. You rarely see 1 or 2. You only see anything from 5, 20, sometimes up to 100 guinea hens. In the background there, I'm not sure you can hear some impalas snorting. I do not know for what reason. very good. And you can see it running there. It's the rutting season for the impalas here in the Kruger National Park this particular month. And coming back to our guinea hens, you can see the guinea fowls there, good number 10 plus, still feeding. You can see how busy they are picking seeds cheap as they move on. Ravinda, I agree with you that their heads are very colorful, and especially as the blue you see there. I agree with you 100%. And they are one of my favorite guinea hens. And I'll show you, or guinea fowls, some different type of guinea fowl that we have in Kenya. And it's a little different from what you have here. And it's called the Voltron guinea fowl. And you see how beautiful it is. If you look there, see that, and you'll see that in the northern part of Kenya, and it's more semi-arid. You see it in dry areas, and it's equally beautiful. And people occasionally, or way back, they would use their feathers to make some beautiful jewelries like headgears and something like that. Good looking, eh? We'll go back to our guinea hens there. My first question is, have I ever had roasted guinea hen to eat? And back in my village, until very recently, we used to raise them together with the chicken, and I can tell you it's very good meat. To me, when I had a choice of a chicken or a guinea hen, I would have gone for a guinea fowl. And when you roast them especially, we would have them for dinner. And over Christmas, instead of turkey, we don't have a lot of turkeys in East Africa or in Kenya in particular. Over Christmas, we would have always a very nice meal from the guinea fowls. You can tell they're very hungry. So, pal, you'd like to know if you could tell the difference, excuse me about that, between the males and females. It's rather difficult, but what I have found out, the males have more of a little reddish color right on their head and on the neck. So the males have more of that red, and the females will have like more plain blue. So the males will have more red, especially behind the beak and below the neck. And the ones that have, like what you see there to the right, those two there, my guess those two are males. And the females will have the plain blue without the red. In general, in most bird species, the males are always more brightly colored than the females. Oh, something just went running there. You can tell they'll feed a lot, and most of these will always feed on the grass seeds. Sometimes you see them scraping also on the elephant poo, getting all the little beetles that elephants will bring down. And the guinea fowls are very important in the ecosystem because they'll spread out the elephant poo when they are feeding on it as they move. We'll try and move a little closer to them and see how active they are this morning, and request them maybe to make any alarm call to the two boys who are looking for the leopards. There we are. Well, see, Yeah, I agree with you, and it's only now we are doing more conservation than before, and also in the villages we come from, we have stopped, eating them and stopped raising them together with the chicken, and leaving them to, just raise themselves in the wild. But I would say they are a very, very good eat, and I used to love the meat from the guinea fowls. And then we would use their feathers also, as I said earlier, to make some nice headgears, and we would use them for traditional dances. And if we had, say, wedding ceremonies, that in the villages, you'd see the groom would wear some very nice headgear made from the guinea hen feathers, and the girl would have all the feathers patched on her head on that special wedding day. The feet, we would use the feet of the guinea hen to make pendants on necklaces at the same time, and they would all be worn by the bride during the wedding day. Today, instead of using the guinea fowl's feathers, we are using the chicken feathers. Very nice. We'll move forward to closer to the guinea hens ahead of us, and there's maybe a drongo I'm seeing from a distance. Let's see if that's a drongo there with a bigger flock of the guinea hens. That's very good to hear, and that's exactly what would happen back in the village when, would have those ceremonies. And you can hear all the Hadada ibis in the background there. These are the Hadada ibis, and that's our fox-tailed drongo there. We also have the fox-tailed drongos in Kenya. I think they spread way wide in Africa. Just took off. Craig, do you see our guinea fowls? So they are gone. I think our guinea fowls are gone. And we'll also make our way out. And Brent hasn't given up on searching for the leopard.
Indeed, I haven't given up. They are somewhere here. I can't find tracks of them coming out of this area. So and this is the only road I haven't checked yet, which was Leadwood. And I'm just double checking now the southern parts, and then I'm going to go up the Mawati to see if she's maybe not in the Mawati. Other than that, my suspicion from what the track says, that she's left Kalamba in the top part of this river system, almost very close to where she killed the Stembok, and she's moved off hunting. So that's what it looks like from the track so far. So she could be anywhere in this area, but fingers crossed we're going to find them. Now, while we are searching, I think it's time for a little quiz. What do you think, David? What should we quiz today? Geography. David's going to have to answer as well, because I've tried to teach David some African geography, but he doesn't seem to soak it in. And let's start with a few capital cities. What is the capital of Burundi? What is the capital of Burundi? Hashtag Safari Live. No cheating in using Google. David, do you know?
Yes.
Do you? I don't believe you. Oh, we'll have to wait to see if David actually does know the answer. I don't think David knows the answer. What letter does it begin with, David?
The B.
Oh, maybe he does. Maybe he did listen to me on those long drives in Kenya. Kirsten says he's not just a pretty face. I'm not so sure myself. Is that Franklin taking off away from us? That was disturbed by us, not by a kitty cat, as we would have preferred it to be disturbed by. Apparently no one wants to do geography quizzes. Come on, guys. Sabi, Azumi says Brent City. I wish. It's not. I haven't had a city named after me yet. There's always the next 30 years. Okay, so no sign of her coming out on Leadwood Road. Well done, Haley. Indeed, it is Bujumbura is the capital of Burundi. Well done. Okay. What is the most northerly mountain range in Africa? What is the most northerly mountain range in Africa? Hashtag Safari Live if you know the answer. Okay, so it's possible she might have popped into the Mawati here. Heidi says, how are we supposed to know if we can't Google? It's a quiz, it's a general knowledge quiz. You're not supposed to be able to Google when you're being quizzed. That's cheating. You may use an atlas. No, actually, no, that's also cheating. David, do you know what the most northern mountain range in Africa is? Nah. Kirsten says that's research. Well, maybe Kirsten, do you know? I don't think Kirsten knows. The reason I said it is because I spoke about it during one of the other quizzes. Oh, now we've got Brent Mountain. Thank you, Kirsten. Very funny. Oh, what do we have here? Nope. Oh, goodness. Jokes are flying this morning. And Mount Leo Smith is the next one coming from Final Control. Of course, Final Control's geography seems to be severely lacking as well. Well done, Bill. Bill knows his geography. It is indeed the Atlas Mountains in Morocco. There's a clue, apparently, Kirsten says, about the Atlas, but I don't think that was on purpose, Kirsten. I think that was an happy accident for you. Well, sticking with mountains, because there's not too many mountains very close to us. Well, the Drakensberg. But what mountain range is considered to be one of the sources of the Nile River? What mountain range is considered to be one of the sources of the Nile River? Now, still no tracks coming through here. Giraffe Cool says an atlas and Google are allowed at school. Well, that's just not when you're having a test. Surely you can't use. Oh, what are you shouting at, Scroll? Let's go have a look at Twin Dams quickly. Surely you can't use an atlas and Google when you're doing a test. Surely not. Schools must have changed a lot since I was at school. Angie says a big mountain is the source of the Nile. So we've got quite a few. It is not the Nile mountain range, Carol. It's actually one of the spots that's on my Africa bucket list. Well done. Well done. Someone has got it. It's the Rizenzores. So Safari Wildman. And there's a bird I really want to go see there. I'm just having a quick look around. There's a couple of squirrels alarm calling, but I'll show you. It is the only broadbill species in Africa I haven't seen, and it is on my hit list. Let's have a do this quickly. If I can remember how to spell. Oh, well, I find this bird quickly. Lily, who's 7 years old, has a quiz for me. Oh, Lily, age 7. What is the national bird of Australia? I'm trying to decide between two. Is it a kookaburra? Kirsten's answer to everything regarding Australia is platypus. I'm not going to even dignify that with a response, Kirsten. I think it's a kookaburra. Or is it an emu? No, it's a kookaburra. I'm sticking with kookaburra. But that's the bird I want to go see in the Rizenzores, the African green broadbill or the Grower's broadbill. Now, it's an endemic. Its whole range is there. That's it. That's where it occurs. Nowhere else in the world. So that's Uganda. Like that. That's Lake Victoria. So the source of the White Nile is Ginger, which is about there. And then the source of the Blue Nile. No! Sorry, I lie completely. The source of the Blue Nile is in Ethiopia. But so the Rizenzores feeds down into Lake Victoria, and that's why it's considered one of the sources of the Nile. And there's a movie about the search for the source of the Nile, which was called The Journey to the Mountains of the Moon, which is another name for that mountain range, the Mountains of the Moon. No, the squirrels have gone quiet. I wonder, am I right, Lily? Half a point. I said I was toying up between the kookaburra and emu, and I was wrong. It wasn't the kookaburra, it was indeed an emu. Thank you, Lily. I learnt something new today, that Australia's national bird is an emu. David, did you know that? Don't lie, David. David has an Australian passport, and he didn't even know that, Lily. Okay. We're going to keep checking around here, and while we do that, let's send you back across to David.
Oh, hello everyone, and have a look at this. This is a different track. While we're still on the track of the leopards, we've spotted some other different ones as well. These look quite similar to that of jackal, or maybe a large type genet, maybe even civet. But what we can notice in this particular track, there's the proximal pad, and once again I'm going to put my light on it so you can just see it in a different hue. There we are. Just put some shadows on it. There we go. Just turn it around a little bit. You can see it in different lights. Choops! And then it's different, isn't it? So, proximal pad at the back. 1, 2, 3, 4 toes. However, very special in this track, all of the toes are showing very clear claws. And what we also notice on this back pad, the proximal pad, which is showing through on all of these, is that we've got a lopsided or extra lobe at the back over there, on the lobe, on the proximal pad. Very indicative of mongoose. Now, this is a very large mongoose. If we have to look at the general type dwarf mongoose, banded mongoose, what is the other one that we get around here? And it's the largest in the region. It's the white-tailed mongoose. So, a very nice track here of a white-tailed mongoose. At this particular point, looks like he was sort of slowing down, doing something here next to the grass. I wonder if he was having a sniff, potentially a mark. But what mongoose like doing, most mongoose, if not all of them, have got small man syndrome. So what they will do is, if there's a termite mound like that, and the ground over there, the little mongoose, I'm not very good at drawing, so the little mongoose, he'll come up and he will back up against the termite mound and defecate as high as possible on that termite mound, making it look like he's bigger than he is, because he's got small man syndrome. So he wants to try and make out as if he can run with the big dogs. But yes, if you want to play with the wolves or run with the wolves, don't bark like a dog. And so he can run with the big wolves, and he calls like one as well. But he's rather a small beast. But for a mongoose, he's huge, and he's got a very big white tail to him. Very rarely actually seen, but we see their tracks quite regularly. Now, something else I just want to show you here. Here's another track. It can look quite strange. Sometimes when you see a track like this, you might think that it's got maybe 1, 2, 3 toes. But in fact, this is normally part of the tragelaphene tribe of animals, or antelope. And yesterday I did very sillily or stupidly say that impala are part of the tragelaphene tribe. It's incorrect. They're not. They don't have spiral horns. And also, what is indicative of tragelaphene or spiral-horned antelope is that they direct register. So when I say direct register, that's anything that makes a mark in the soil is a register. But if I put my front foot down and my back foot goes directly in my front foot, that is a direct register. Okay, and that's exactly what's happening here. The front foot is there, and it's been stepped on by the back foot. And it's quite similar to all the cats. As they walk, you very often only see the back foot, because that has stepped right into the front foot. Now, this little creature, he's, once again, I've explained this before. On a normal walking pace, there's a right foot, there's another right foot. Okay? So this animal, its body length is pretty much like that, because that's the right, there's the left, there's the right. So his body length is pretty much like that. It's a rather small track, part of the spiral-horned antelope. So you would normally think which one of that's possibly bushbuck or nyala. In this particular case, I'm probably going to go with the nyala. And a nyala with a body length of pretty much that length. So, wonderful. It's either bushbuck nyala, it's a very close call, but I'm going to go with the nyala in this particular case, because it's sort of getting larger on the track, right a little bit closer towards the back of the actual track itself, whereas bushbuck a little bit more in the middle, a little bit closer towards kudu type track. So I'm going to go with the nyala on this one. Very similar to impala track. But impala, because they're not part of the tragelaphene tribe, they don't direct register. So impala will have left, right, all over the place, and not stepping into each other like that. So that's all the little tricks and clues and signs that we have. We know that there's a nyala around. We also know that there's white-tailed mongoose. And we also know that there's probably 3 leopards in the area. But we do need to find them. Now, Snazzy, if a mongoose had to potentially just run out in front of us here, he would probably turn around, see us, and run off. That's most likely what he'll do. Or he'll run up to a termite mound and go into a hole. That's what they often do as well. So they won't really play dead. I know that mongoose, if they get bitten by a snake, they have literally antidotes within the body, and they don't generally really get affected that much. They might pass out for a little while, and then they come back to life. Now, remember, we do really much more appreciate walking out in the bush. We're walking on the road, however, because we're following the trail of these leopard, and they've been crisscrossing off the road, on the road. And we've also just avoided a Duggar boy buffalo. He's lying just up over there. So we're just taking and have a look. There's some nice fresh slop. Okay, very, very similar to cow dung. It's almost identical. You cannot tell the difference between cow dung and buffalo dung. But out here we know that there's no cows. There's a very fresh patty, as we say, of buffalo dung, and we know that he's just around the corner from us. So we're just trying to hot-foot it a little bit away from him. And while we do that, let's head you on over to Dave, who I think is also on the road.
Yes, the trucking still continues here, like all of us are doing. And just a few minutes ago, we saw some trucks with Craig, and we thought they would have been of a leopard, and we lost them at one point, and we gave up. So we are slowly coming back to my favorite spot, the Chitwa Dam, and maybe find out anything has changed from what we left before. And those mornings when you go when it's cold and the cats decide just to cuddle and curl themselves in because of the low temperatures, I'm thinking, and maybe that's why we haven't seen them coming out. But it's warming up, and we have every reason to believe any time now they'll start showing up and we'll start seeing them. There's some piggies here. That's very nice. Hopefully they don't go away. We're very lucky. Let's see if Craig will get them. Well done, Craig. Look at that. Look at those piggies there. Very skittish. I do not know for what reason. We are behaving well. We stopped, switched off the engine. We kept quiet. We are not chatting anymore with Craig. And you can see the warthogs running. That's the mother there with 3 piglets. Isn't this beautiful? Tails up as they run. I'm not sure. The one at the back there. Let me just see. Because to me, looks like the male. I don't know why the female would be. This one could be fully grown piglets, very independent of the mother, unless the mother was brought down with someone and they were having a drink at Chitwa Dam. They just came out and they're walking now, running as usual with their tails up as a follow me sign, and we'll swing by on the other side and see whether we can get more close-ups on these piggies. I love the warthogs, especially when you see them running and exciting. Let me just move forward a little bit and see whether they'll have a chance to see them again. Nice to see such a nice family of warthogs in the morning. Sorry again, Christy, what about the warthogs in Kenya? I do not think so, Christy. Your question is whether the warthogs in Kenya are bigger than the warthogs we got here in the Kruger National Park. I would say they are of the same size and they are the same species. Unless occasionally you see the males, which could be bigger, I would say they are of the same size. If Craig, we can sneak on these guys trying to run on the right there. See them, how fast they're getting now. I think they're the same size and same species. They've really taken off, and I think that's the male babysitting now, and I do not know where the female would have gone. Yeah, okay, so but just to answer your question, I think they are the same size, not anything bigger than what we have here. I'll still have to look for more of them and try to compare. And Craig, what do you think? Do you think the warthogs in Kenya are bigger than ones you have here, or they're the same size?
They do seem like they're maybe a little bit bigger. I'm not sure.
Okay, Craig thinks they might be. This could be my second pair of warthogs I've seen since I got here. So what I'll start doing is to start looking. I've been doing parallels of every animal I've seen to compare the animals there, the plants here, and I should be able to know in the next few days which ones are bigger. But as Craig says, maybe the ones in Kenya could be slightly bigger than the ones we have here. And let's see if we'll have one more chance to see them before they fade away in the bush. So they went in that direction, and as we follow the warthogs, Brent continues with his quizzes.
Well, it's a good way to pass time while searching for big cats, the odd quiz or three. Now, I thought I'd throw a bit of a non-Africa specific quiz out there. There's nothing at Treehouse. And that is, what is the longest mountain range in the world? So, non-Africa specific. David, do you know? Nah. Is that a yes or a no? I don't know what nah is. Nah. Nah. Sounds like a go-away bird behind me. Cheeky says, I can't help but wonder how often I quiz Jamie. Now, I'll get a smack if I quiz too much. But a lot of this stuff comes from childhood. This is how my family passed long car journeys with geography and animal and all sorts of quizzes. And we got older, even politics quizzes. An animal. You see it, David? There. Yes, there. Here we go. A little male steenbok. Not quite what we're looking for. Doesn't have spots. But spots like to eat them. All the squirrels are making noise this morning. They are just so dainty, little steenbokkies. Now it's looking in the direction where that squirrel was alarm calling, but as you can see, it looks very unperturbed. So it seems like it was too easy, my South American quiz about the longest mountain range in the world. It is indeed the Andes. Dizzy Lizzy was first, but lots of you are getting it correct. But how about the second longest mountain range in the world? Ha-ha! Let's see, you can get that one. Oh. always pays to check this little river system above Treehouse here. A favorite of Hokomori. Now, I said David, my cameraman, sounded like a go-away bird. But now it seems like David, the presenter, has the real deal.
Yes, from one David to another David, the cam-up David, and now David, the presenter. And I'm seeing a go-away bird that I have not seen before. And we do not have this one in Kenya. Where are you going? All right, it's going down. Just changed position, and I'm sure Craig will get it to you. Well done, Craig. And going to pick some breakfast meal there. And this is the grey go-away bird, and we do not have these ones in Kenya. And most birds, as much as they eat, some green matter, they also go for worms. They'll also go for insect. Anything they see on the ground, they'll also feed on it. We've got different go-away birds in Kenya, and this one, to me, it's very unique and very different. And I just learned the other day, it's the only go-away bird here where we are. I'm not sure what's feeding on. No, I agree with the comment. Yes, they have a great name, and being grey, I think that's a great name. And why we call them the go-away birds, they are also very good when they see predators for us or they give away predators for us, and you'll hear them going like, "Oi, oi, oi." And we have always heard they say, "Go away." So anything they don't like, anything that will irritate them, or they think, say, big birds of prey, for example, or leopards. Leopards have been known to, prey on birds. They'll always like, "We don't want to see you, get out of here, go, 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 go away, go away." Look at them. Two of them now, right, Craig? I'm not sure they are re-establishing, birds there. Yeah, and it's very interesting. I don't know where the one came from. And look at that. I don't know if they're feeding each other or they're just bonding. Yeah, there's a baby. It's being fed there. Isn't that beautiful? And very clever birds. See how they blend in with the ground there. And either the mother is getting the worms and feeding the baby. That's clever. Most of the go-away birds in Kenya don't come on the ground. They always remain patched up on the trees or on the bushes. But I'm not sure this is a particular feeding habit for these go-away birds here. But the ones in Kenya, in general, they remain up, on the trees, on the branches, not coming this down to the ground. And you can tell one is young and doesn't have as big a crest like the one on the right of your screen there, closer to the water. Busy feeding. Say that comment again, sorry, Casti. Oh, ground-tail, yes, I agree with you. They are very, very similar if you look at them, and they remind you of the teals. Very, very busy eating. And you see how they have chosen a very nice place, because occasionally you see big birds of prey going for them, but how they blend in there, it's very difficult to spot them. Initially I didn't see one, and look at how they feed each other. I'm not sure one is feeding each other or they're sharing. They need maybe a fork and a knife to cut the worms they're grabbing from the ground there. this spot of the dam, and I do not know, but I'm very convinced it's one spot I'll keep coming many times every day I'm out on a drive. In the background you can hear the fish there, the blacksmith lapwings, and as I still continue enjoying my favorite spot, Brent has something to tell us.
Ah, yes, I do indeed have something to tell you. But I think it might have been a bit too easy, since some of you might live in the shadow of the second longest mountain range in the world. And Wisteria and Bill, you are spot on. It is indeed the Rocky Mountains in the US of A. Another place I would like to visit. Now, we've just been going very slowly all around here, and the only thing I seem to be able to spot today is Steenbok. There's another little male Steenbok watching us. Hello, mister. And gone. I can hear an oriole calling. Sometimes they're really difficult to actually spot. Beautiful call. Dag nabbit. He's landed. He might be a bit far, Dave. Yeah, somewhere there. Oh, I think as I say, I think he might be a bit far off. You can hear him still calling that beautiful liquid chortle. Oh dear. Disappearing orioles. Beth, aged 45, 3 months and 1 day, would like to know which river in America is considered to be the second oldest in the world after the Nile. I have read this before. I'm just going to think for a second. I'm trying to remember its name. Is it the Colorado River? I think it's the Colorado River. Am I right? Am I wrong? And I'd never use Google on a game like this. That's just cheating. It's not fun. I think it's the Colorado River is the second oldest river in the world. I might be wrong. But anyway, I wait patiently to get the answer back from Kirsten. In the meantime, let's send you across to Rolf. Oh, David. David was not paying attention and got caught on a thorn tree. I didn't stand on the road, David. I did not drive into it. You weren't watching. Okay, let's go to Rolf.
Well, everybody, like I said earlier, there are so many creatures that use termite mounds and aardvark burrows as their home. Well, here's one of the little critters that do. Those little dwarf mongoose. So we saw the track as well of a white-tailed mongoose. Well, here's the little dwarf mongoose. And dwarf mongoose and all the mongooses, part of the Herpestidae family. And if I'm not mistaken, I think it might have been now amalgamated into the Mustelidae family, which includes the honey badger, the striped polecat, civet, and those animals. So these are all animals that are very similar. The civet, honey badger, polecat, and the mongoose. And in the mongoose, obviously the white-tailed mongoose, you've got the banded mongoose, you've got the dwarf mongoose, water mongoose, yellow mongoose, slender mongoose. The slender mongoose and the yellow mongoose, both solitary kind of mongoose, as well as the water mongoose. And then down on the eastern coast of South Africa, we get the large grey mongoose, which is a similar size to that of the white-tailed mongoose. Those are all your solitary type mongoose. And then the dwarf mongoose, banded mongoose, and the suricate as well, also more gregarious or living in groups. And it makes sense living in groups with these little mongoose as well, these dwarf mongoose, because lots of eyes, lots of ears, and you can always, if you work well as a team, always put one out as a sentry while everyone else can relax a little bit, and very fun to watch as you see one of them sort of standing guard. At the moment it's quite a cool morning, so very often the dwarf mongoose are quite reluctant to come out until it's warmed up quite a bit. They're a little bit lazy like that. They really do enjoy their sleep, and they can be very late risers when it's quite cool in the morning or overcast like this. And as we go into winter, you'll see that sometimes they only come out around midday. Heidi, they are very cute, I agree with you, but the largest snake that they could kill in a group is probably any of these snakes. They'll attack it, they'll mob it, so even a very large black mamba, if it's not careful, could be mobbed by a group of dwarf mongoose, and eventually, even if that black mamba is reaching 3.5, 4 meters, so you're talking about 8-10 feet, even a little bit more than that. Very, very big snake. They could kill that quite easily. They'd take some time, but they'd mob it and they'd bite it all over. They've got ferocious little sharp teeth, and they'll get stuck in. But you see, always just sit and wait, and they can relax with your presence, whether on foot or by vehicle. But on foot, it's always lovely to get close to them, because they're quite curious as well. They do want to have a look at us, so we're watching them watching us. It's always wonderful. That there's that one that is sitting out. I'm sure Seb is framed up on him, because he's the one, seems like he's not so scared as the rest. And then there's one just off on the side. He's poking his head out now. That he also seems a little bit curious, but a little bit more wary. And I'm sure there's lots of them around. Every now and then you do hear the little tirrt, tirrt, that little calls that they make. A bit of an alarm squeal. And they're always in contact with each other, communicating all the time. Unfortunately, we're not close enough to actually hear it. I've just heard it a couple of times very softly with my ear. But I think it's a bit far for you to hear it. But you see that, so not only termite mounds, and not only aardvarks being very important, the termite mounds being very important out here in the bush. And just imagine the labyrinth of little tunnels that they have on the inside there. It would be fascinating to see how these little mongoose live on the inside there, in their little den. And they've chosen a very nice spot there, and I'm sure there's lots of food around as well. So perfect little site for these little characters that we have out here in the bush. We see them quite regularly, but they're always, every time, just as fascinating as the last. Okay, so we're still on that search for the leopards. Once again, getting sidetracked, but that's what it's all about. Wonderful to be sidetracked by such lovely little creatures as the dwarf mongoose. But let's not lose focus. We will be moving off soon. Heidi, just to answer your question, meerkats is the general word that I think it's highly, sorry if I'm getting your name wrong. Meerkats is a sort of a generalized word used for surrogates. Yes, they are related to surrogates. They're in the same family, but meerkat is actually, we say in South Africa, these are all meerkats, all of these guys. I know foreigners like to say that meerkats are the surrogates, and I'm pretty sure it's because of the documentary Meerkat Manor, which has isolated surrogates as meerkats. But these are also meerkats. It's an Afrikaans word, meerkat, and actually stemming from the water mongoose, because it's a lake cat. So these are all meerkats. I know that you're probably saying about the surrogates, but they're all part of the same family, and all actually are meerkats. So, and the real word, if you want to say it correctly, is meerkat. Meerkat. It's not as easy or sound as nice, maybe, as meerkat, but I think it's time for us to head on down, see if we can catch up with Hukumuri. Maybe he's a chiller pan. And talking about pans, it seems David's got an animal that likes being around the water.
Yes, ponds are very good to see leopards, and hopefully that may happen in the next few minutes. But here we got a very, very hungry calf from the aquaback, and it's time for breakfast. And what is interesting here, there are two youngsters. There's that one you see on the right, and the one that's nursing right now. They don't look to be of very big difference in terms of age or size, but I wonder if the other one might have lost its mother. It initially tried to go round the side of this aquaback female to nurse, and it got a huge kick from this female here, and it was like, get out of here. So if you look at them carefully, they look to be more or less of the same size, but I don't think this is the mother. In general, the waterbacks will have one calf at a time. Not that I know of twins, but I do not know what could have happened to the mother on the one on the right. And hopefully, if the mother could have been brought down by a predator, and it was on the right age to be weaned, and it will be able to survive eating the grass to maturity. The male in the background there had a female. We had two attractions here. The male was trying to mount a female, and the same male earlier I told you was quoting a particular female, but the female is still not in the right mind frame, and she has moved away there, and you can see the female facing the other way, playing hard to get. And funny, both of them are looking at different directions, and I'm like, I'm giving you time. You think, let me think. Did Ravinda ask if the waterbacks have the biggest fur? Was that the question? Sorry, Castillo? Ravinda, I think as far as I'm concerned, you'd like to know if they have the fluffiest fur, the waterbacks. I would say yes, from what I've seen here, I would say they could have the fluffiest of the antelopes in terms of the fur. I would say yes, Ravinda. The smaller guys who are equally fluffy would be the bunnies, but in this size of antelopes, I would say yes, the waterbacks have pretty large fur on their bodies, and that would help, to keep them warm. And if you see the male, it may have a little bit more of it on the neck, maybe, if they use it once in a while for fighting, cushioning, as much as they would use their horns too. I'm not sure the male now is making a decision either to eat and forget about the female altogether. As this young calf here keep nursing, and I do not know what the female is thinking of the other one, because it initially had an idea of allowing it to nurse and then to change its mind and give it a very big kick. And these are things that will happen once in a while in the wilderness. If its mother was brought down by a predator, then too bad. But to me, I think it's going to make it. This is not letting go, sucking, eh? And interesting, the mother is regurgitating and, chewing the cud there while the baby is nursing. And I would say both of them are feeding at the same time, But I think the mother has to regurgitate a lot to have enough milk for the baby here. Baby Aquabac Castor, say that again. Yes, girl. Yes, that's a baby aquabac. And I'm feeling sorry for the other one that's getting so close there and waiting to see if this female will change its mind, because I think she's still within that age bracket to also nurse. She's not that big to be weaned, and if the young one nursing there is, I think also the other one would qualify also to get a bit of milk. I've seen sometimes on the big mammals like the female elephants when they do allo nursing, and you get should say a mother of one dying, the calf could be breastfed by another female. I don't think that happens in the aquabacs here. Yeah, you can see her still struggling to eat the soft parts of the grass there, maybe because of her tender age. And I'm sure as she gets older, she'll be able to eat some stronger and hard grass. This female is not changing mind, it's just keeping nursing its own. And you could mistakenly think these are twins, as much as from what I've seen or noticed, they are of different sizes. And the female is still facing the other direction, and I don't know where the male went, Craig. The male just laid down there, and I'm not sure it is interested, but still trying to look good to the female, as it's giving the female time to think, what's going to happen. We'll wait here to see what happens between the male and the female, but in the meantime, Brent will give us his latest update.
We're still searching for spots, unsuccessfully so at the moment. And I've heard it was not the Colorado River, so I was wrong. So which river was it, Kirsten? I don't know which river it is, Kirsten. That is why I'm waiting patiently for the answer. I did not Google, no, Kirsten. Hello, Coral. What are you upset about? Well, Cheeky Geeky Bear says the oldest river in the US is called the New River. That makes a lot of sense now, doesn't it? Where'd the squirrel go now? So this is the squirrel's not coming out to play. He's gone behind the tree. Oh no, there he is. Did you see it? And there's a little hole. He popped his head out for a second. So little bit down, Dave. There we go. A little bit to the left. That tiny little hole there, his head popped out for a second. Come, squirrel! Squirrel! Is he there? There he is! Oh, there he goes. Lovely. Squirrel! Squirrel! Come back! No! Okay, bye. Ralph's got something big and black and dangerous on foot.
Well, everybody, yes, we do. We're here next to this big dugout boy, buffalo bull. He doesn't know that we're here. And we're at Treehouse Dam. We can hear the oxpeckers, and that's what's given away his presence. But unless he smells us, unless the wind takes our smell directly towards him, he won't know that we're here either. So that's brilliant. And that's exactly how we want to view these big animals, is in their natural environment, without them knowing that we're here, and we can come in and view them and leave without them changing their behavior in any way. And he's obviously been having a drink. I'm not sure if he's been having a roll in the mud. He was doing that yesterday, but for the time being, we're in a very safe position. We're just on the other side of Treehouse Dam wall, and yeah, this I think is the same buffalo bull that's walking around the property. It seems to be the same one. He is a little bit of a grumpy fellow, but however, yesterday he looked like maybe he had changed his mood a bit, because he was sleeping and enjoying the mud, and maybe just get him on the wrong day, and he's a bit grumpy, but other times he's quite a happy soul. And anyway, for the time being now, we are quite happy just to watch him out on foot, but we do need to be a little bit careful with buffaloes, especially Duggar boys, all on their own like that. They can be a little bit edgy and a bit grumpy, but for us now, we've got water and the dam wall in between us and him, and not a problem at all. Here, I've had quite a few interesting incidents with buffalo. One of them was, we're just actually moving so Seb can get this buffalo into screen again. And one of them was when I was training some students to be walking out in the bush up in the northern part of Makuleki, or the northern part of Kruger. And that concession is called Makuleki. He's just moved off a little bit, so we're just trying to get a bit closer, or just get a better angle on this, while Seb tries not to fall over. And if we're just shifting out through here, and then we can get a better view on him. So yes, very interesting with buffalo breeding herds. I had the students, and we were walking through this Mopani thicket, and we were trying to, find any of the big game, because that's what I was training them for, was being able to walk in the bush with guests. And so we were walking through a Mopani thicket, which is not the best or ideal area to walk through, but we just needed to cross it, and then there was a lovely open area after that. But in this Mopani thicket, I heard stampeding buffalo coming directly towards us, and it's one of the only times that I have shouted to my group, "Run!" And they followed me, and we ran in the opposite direction that these buffalo breeding herd was stampeding at, and we turned off to the side and got up onto a termite mound, luckily, and watched this entire herd stampede past us. And I believe while we were walking through the thicket, I think there was a swirling breeze, and I think that our smell came from the opposite side to these buffalo, so they just smelt us, and they charged away from the smell, which landed up being directly towards us, and that was it. So they were actually running away from us, but running towards us. It's quite difficult to understand that, but with a swirling wind, it can happen. And us just getting out the way in the nick of time, and we watched the stampeding herd. It was quite heart-wrenching, and got the adrenaline flowing, but it was a nice exercise for the students as well. But one of the only times I've told a group to run, and luckily we just got out the way. With buffalo and with rhino sometimes as well, the only way to get out of there, or the only thing you can do, is either run or get up a tree, or get up a termite mound or something like that, because once they decide to charge in your direction, there's not going to be much that's going to stop them. So you need to get out the way, maybe get up, get some height, and clear the area. But it can be very interesting indeed. Now, Harley It's definitely hippo that do cause more deaths sort of annually than in comparison to buffalo. But it's not out on land that hippos kill people. It's in the water. So in the ponds, in the pans, in the rivers, where people go fishing, where they're on dugout canoes, where they're on boats. That's generally the place where they are actually the most dangerous. You get the odd accident where people walk between the water and the hippo on land, and they charge actually just wanting to get into the water, and they just steamroller over people. But that's very rare. The times when people are injured and attacked by hippos is when they're in water, and there's normally a dominant bull, and he's possibly got some females with young, or you just getting into his territory, and not. They will give you warning signs, and those warning signs are not normally obeyed, and that's when people get into trouble. Or you're on a canoe, you can't really get out of the way quick enough, and those hippos, they just snap boats in half. And once you're in the water, well, you're floundering because you can't swim faster than a hippo. So definitely a hippo, more dangerous than a buffalo, but out on land, I would say definitely a buffalo. Hippos, they're going to be heading for water and getting out your way if you're on foot, and you just want to be not between them and the water as they're charging back to their safe spot. They're also scared, big animals, but they're also scared. Okay, so we're going to now once again carry on that trail for the leopards. Whether we find them this morning or not, it doesn't matter. It's the route and the road that counts. We're having a road of discovery this morning. Look at all the magical things that we've found. But while we head up and see if we can get those tracks again, let's head you off to Brent and see how his drive is going.
Again, the lack of spots is somewhat troubling, is it not? They're here, we just can't find them today. Deary, deary me. So, let's change our tact, Dave. Let's go look for wild dogs, not leopard, then we'll probably find a leopard. So we'll go have a look around the far western corner. Our tracking in the low veld from it is wonderful. It's relatively easy. Tracking in forests is a much more difficult thing. It's possible, but it is a lot more difficult, particularly because you've got very little open ground on the forest floor from all the leaf litter and stuff like that. Normally the only way to really track in the forests is on big elephant paths. Other than that, it is extremely difficult. You also use your sense of smell in the forest a lot more to track animals. Not a leopard track, but an aardvark track. That's it there. Am I too close? Off my leg here. There we go. And you can see the 3 big toes that stick out on an aardvark track. Quite a lot of aardvarks in this area. There's some big. No one is driven. No, I can't believe. No one has driven Zoe's, this end of Zoe's. This is where the spots are going to be. Tracks all around. But it doesn't look like anyone's driven here yet this morning. I thought someone had. Okay. Well, we found a road that hasn't been driven. That's always wonderful. And so we'll head off to the west towards the gate. Now, I mean, there's some. Look at that, those are fresh leopard tracks again. They have been everywhere. Now, what we want to do, so you can see, it's on top of the rain, but you can see how pale it is. So if I step on this here, And you see how my track does the same thing. You can see it's quite light. So that means that these tracks are from this morning and after the dew. Okay. Okay. Shadulu. Now where? Where'd you go next? And we're going to turn around again. Ryan, yes, I've seen lots of chimpanzees in my times in the forests. I spent quite a bit of time with an unhabituated community, is what you call a group of chimpanzees. So they live in communities, and it was quite a big community, around 100 or so chimps. Now that doesn't mean you see them 100 all together. So the community can be spread in groups of 20, 25, 10 over an area. So I've spent quite a bit of time with two different communities that were completely unhabituated to people and never seen people before. So it was really fascinating to spend time with those chimpanzees. I see James Henry. This is where she went off. I see James Henry's exercising tracks from yesterday as well. Okay, that's where she went off the road. Okay, hopefully our luck is about to change with the spots, and while I concentrate on these tracks, let's send you across to David, who's at yet another waterhole.
Yes, hopefully Brent will be lucky and don't get tired, keep trucking. And we are on another waterhole called the Twin Dam, and still also finding out what could be happening here. I just left my favorite spot, the Chitwa Dam, and now I have come to explore a new area here, the Twin Dam, and see whether we could get any thirsty animals coming for a drink. And I'm being told by Craig it's not very far where we had that elephant carcass that was brought down, unfortunately, by another bull when they fought. Excuse me about that. And as it warms up, most likely we'll be seeing more of activity and these cats coming out before we finish the show. And James would like to know what's the best method we have of tracking cats in Kenya, because we can't track there. And I'll tell you what, it's very difficult. One thing is they don't allow people to do off-road. You just have physically look for them. You have to look for them. So you use your eyes and this. That's how we look for them. It's very, very, very difficult when you do not do off-roading, even when you see trucks. And the soil chemistry in Kenya is a bit different. We don't have as much sand here. So it's very difficult to pick a print of, say, a lion or a leopard. There's a lot of grass and lots of low vegetation, and very difficult to pick the prints like I've seen here with the sand, which gives away the direction a cat might have gone. There, you'll have to stop your car. Sometimes you stand and you look, and then you get your far lookers, and then you look. Of course, also we got the alarm calls that we use also when we have them, just like here the Guinea Hens doing the thing, or francolins doing the call, or impalas when they get scared by predators. But it's a bit tougher there than it is here, you know. Right. We'll keep looking. We haven't given up, and you never know. Tia, you'd like to know what is my favorite big cat. I would say all cats are beautiful, good looking, but the spots on the leopard, the rosette pattern, to me, they always mesmerize my eyes. And also number two, the way the leopards hunt, I think it's very, very clever. they don't burn so much energy. They'll always wait and, stalk very quickly. And anytime they move, their shoulders stop, look, go down, go up again, stalk, and then they do the final arch when they pounce on their prey. It's exciting. But I'm also happy how they pull up their prey on top of a tree to keep it away from all the other predators like hyenas and the lions. Not many cats able to do that. I think it's only the leopard. I think that's very, very clever of it, and happens to be my favorite cat. Ruff, who is on foot, has something almost with a similar name with my favorite cat.
Well, everybody, look at this. Yes, it's one of the little five. This is a really little one at that. Look at my hand next to a little hatchling leopard tortoise, and it's he's just trying to get away from us a little bit. Just heading into the grass here a little bit and trying to hide him, so I'm just going to see if he comes out here into the open. Let's just have a look. Hey, little guy, come on, don't be so shy. I know that's probably very good that you are shy, that you're staying away from danger. Very easily get eaten by all sorts of things, so good that he's going in and hiding itself in the bush there. But look how small it is. It's tiny. That is so cool. Now, I'm not going to be sitting with it for very long because, as I say, very small. We don't want it to be wasting too much energy trying to get away from us. So let's leave him be and give him the best chance of survival. But lovely to have seen it, eh? That's wonderful. Wow, all these lovely little things that we get to see when we're out on foot, huh? It's absolutely magical. And all we're doing is looking for leopards. We haven't spotted any leopards yet, but we found a leopard tortoise, so we're getting closer. And Seb's trying to negotiate through all the thick bush. He's got a big aerial behind him as well, so sometimes he forgets about that and he gets clotheslined. Here there is also the ugly five. If I'm not mistaken, definitely a warthog is one of those. I forget which ones are the other ones, but the little five, we talk about the leopard tortoise, the red-billed buffalo weaver, the four-toed elephant shrew, the antlion, and what's the other one? Which one am I missing? The rhino beetle. Okay, so those are the little five. And the ugly five, I think it's warthog, hyena. I would dispute that. I don't think hyena are ugly, but we'll go with that. Wildebeest. What else? What else do we find? Oh, a marabou stork. I'm sure it must be one of the ugly five. So a marabou stork. And what else is quite termed as being quite ugly? If you've got the answer, why don't you send it in for us? We're looking for that last ugly member of the ugly five, but it's just jokingly, hey? So don't take it personally, anybody that loves hyenas or marabou storks. It seems Herbie's on some fresh tracks here, so let's have a look. Still on the trail of these leopards, and Herbie's doing a fantastic job. Game Scout in front here. And as I say, quite difficult to track in this kind of light where it's overcast and you don't have the contrasts because the sun isn't poking out. So this is probably one of the most difficult times to actually track an animal when you don't have real sunlight. And in fact, that's where some of the best trackers bring through their skills the most, because they can intuitively tell where these animals are moving. Well, Herbie's got his work cut out for him. I'm helping him as far as I can when we go along, but it's getting a little bit difficult now because they were walking around in circles, and for the time being now we did lose the track a little bit, but Herbie seems to have picked it up again since we left Treehouse Dam and that buffalo bull. But and it's also still looking at all the signs. Which ones are the freshest? Lisa, thank you for sending in your answer. Leopard-faced vulture. So that's it. We've got a leopard-faced vulture, marabou stork, wildebeest, hyena, and a warthog. Thanks, Seb. Yes. So we've got the little five, the ugly five, the big five. I wonder what other five we could make. There's also the big five birds to see coming to South Africa, and I know the one is a secretary bird, an African fish eagle, and I think a marabou stork is still part of those, the blue crane, and there's one missing there as well. Probably the crowned eagle. There we go, crowned eagle. So big five of the birds, and Herbie's got a fresh track. There we go. There it is, just there. And you see what he was doing? He was just putting his hand down next to it. Because what are we doing then? We're just checking the freshness, the edges, and the coloration of it. Okay? There's still some very fine edges on here. And you see, we're just looking at those dune-type ridges, and then we move across to this one, and we can see that as well here. It hasn't been disturbed by anything yet, and this is from this morning, and possibly within the last hour. So we're pretty close up behind this leopard. Hopefully we may be able to see it. I think Brent is also onto fresh tracks there, and I think let's go on over to him to see if he's got any other clues for us.
Well, the last tracks go into this bush here between our western boundary and Mendoza Road. We're hoping she might be zigzagging and hunting and come back onto the road, but so far all we've seen is some impalas behind this termite mound. Where are the impalas? There they are. Hello, mister. That was quite a comical head lift and look, and he's going to disappear behind the termite mound shortly. Just keeping quiet for a second to see if we can hear anything, but it is very quiet. Oh dearie me. We know there are leopards on the property. We just can't find them. I was talking to Rex earlier. He's just like, I don't understand. We've got tracks everywhere. We've got tracks in the east, tracks in the west, tracks in the middle. And we just haven't been able to find them. But that is how it goes out here in the African bush. You can't have it all your way every day. Makes it a bit fun as well, the challenge to find the different creatures. So while we're still not giving up by any means, I think it is time for another quiz. Aha! Let's go on to animals now, away from the geography. What is the largest fish in the world? What is the largest fish in the world? Hashtag Safari Live if you know the answer. And again, Kirsten's standard answer has come through into my ear. Platypus. Yes, Kirsten, it's a platypus. Of course it is. Oh, I thought I saw something there for a second. But alas, it was not. And we are now heading back towards the top end of Philemont. Oh, guys are fast today. The Basking Shark. Is it though, Tim? I think it is not. If I remember correctly, it is a shark, but it is not the Basking Shark. think the largest fish is the whale shark. Well done, Sid. Basking sharks get very, very big, but I think in terms of the records, the largest was indeed a whale shark. And the largest freshwater fish in the world is a very, very little known catfish from the Congo River called the Suni catfish, and there's one reported to have been sort of half a ton. It clogged up a whole turbine on the hydroelectric scheme on the Congo River. But that is not a confirmed report. I think it could be the Mekong is confirmed as the largest freshwater fish species in the world, the Mekong giant catfish. Now, I'm hoping to do some fishing this leave. We'll see what happens. Maybe some salt water. Apparently someone was asking when I was going on leave. I'm going on Sunday morning. I will be going up to Johannesburg where I'll be meeting Jamie, who's coming down from Kenya. She's coming down from Kenya, and then we're going to go do a bit of traveling around South Africa. Our house is still got tenants in it, so we won't be going home to our house. But we will go see the families and do a bit of maneuvering around. Wet a line or two, maybe go try for some yellowfish in Natal, some shad in the sea on the south coast. I tell you what, we haven't seen a leopard, but see it. Look, right a bit, zoom, down a little bit, up a little bit, zoom, right a little bit, zoom. David, are you blind? Up a little bit, up, no, there we go, zoom. It's a little steenbok just watching us peering from behind a little thicket. Okay, little steenbokkie, we won't disturb you too much. I'm going to send you across to David, who's exploring Djuma.
Yes, you realize Brent is a very tall gentleman, and you imagine the size of Brent and the size of a steenbok. And that sounds good if he does not disturb it, because I'm sure he would intimidate it by his size, I'm here still looking around, and what I'm doing now, I'm just learning my bearings, slowly looking at the boundaries of this area and doing a bit of zoology. I'm learning trees. I'm trying to know where home is in comparison to where I am. And I want to know the western boundary, the eastern boundary, and should Craig decide to jump out of the car and leave me alone without a map and he steals my phone, somehow I would still be able to go home for breakfast. Isn't that exciting? That's exactly what I'm doing now, but still hoping to bump into something. Yes, we did a few words 2 days ago, and I think, if I'm not wrong, we did Jumbo, and we did Asante Sana, and I think we did Hakuna Matata. Everybody should know Hakuna Matata. And the other one I want to give you today, very good, thank you for reminding me, dear Cassie. And I want us to do one more that goes like Rafiki. And Rafiki is a very special person. And Rafiki translates into a friend. So it's Rafiki. So let's do Rafiki for a friend. And let me see, what else? What, Craig, would you want me to give the viewers? What are the words? We've done Rafiki. We did the other one, those three the other day. And Craig says we should also do one called Habari, and Habari is like, or let's do Mambo. Mambo is like, what's up? Mambo is like, que pasa? So, and that is MAMBO. So, Craig says we do Mambo. So, we're going to do Rafiki and Mambo today. Rafiki for a friend, and Mambo is what's up, que pasa? And the answer for Mambo will be Poa, P-O-A. So we got cool, you know, Poa, P-O-A. Rafiki, friend, Mambo, what's up, Casti? And you're going to say Poa, David. That's cool. We're going to keep those three. One more. Cassie's not let me go. Okay, one more to go and make them 4. And let me see. I'm trying not to look for a very, very big vocabulary. And the 4th word. Aha, very good. That's even better. And what have we seen today? We have seen the acrobats, we have seen polos, and we learned Simba. We haven't seen Simba yet. Simba was seen yesterday. And Simba, if you remember from the movie The Lion King, Simba is the lion. 4 is good for today? Very good. Rafiki, Mambo, Poa, and Simba. And the classes will resume tomorrow again. Very different vegetation from what we have in Kenya. I mean, the farthest I've seen since we started is maybe 50, 100 meters straight line that's open. Anything beyond that is a tree, a bush, a blind corner, you know. But you go to East Africa, especially on the savannah, on the plains, what we call the grassland, you could comfortably even see 15, 20 miles straight, open grassland. This is very, very different vegetation from what I got back home. And I think to me, it makes it, or it gives you a challenge to be able to locate the animals if you're not using the footprints on the ground there. And there's a very big possibility of just bumping on a corner to a leopard or to an elephant without seeing, you know. Fantastic, Cassie. Thank you for using my new lesson words for today. And my Rafiki Raf has something on the ground.
Thank you, Dave. Nice to have you on board with us. And, well, everyone, I'm just digging around in some poo once again, and because it's always fascinating. This is some leopard scat. And the other day, I did look through some leopard scat, and there was a question about if you could do DNA testing from scat. And I said that you could correct me if I'm wrong, but I wasn't sure that you could. Now, I was corrected on social media. It seems that you absolutely can, because there will be all sorts of intestinal sort of DNA that accompanies this scat on its as it passes through the gut of a leopard. So you can test from the scat of a leopard as to its particular DNA structure. Now, what I'm looking at here is most likely the sort of last remnants of what has been passed through a leopard. And what is very interesting is there's a couple of little claws in here. And this, to me, looks like it could possibly be, because of that curved nature of it, this looks like a baby aardvark claw. I'm thinking that it is a young aardvark. Now, I've seen leopard and lion digging aardvark out of their burrow, as well as warthog. And there's also some kind of hoof or bone there as well, a very black type hoof. I'm wondering if it is an aardvark or if it's just, oh no, you know what? I think that's the tip of the hoof, which is joining on over there. So maybe a little bushbuck or something like that. That seems the front of the track. Now, the reason I'm not touching this like I would do with normal herbivorous dung is because we never touch leopard, lion, hyena, scat, any of the meat eaters. And the reason being, I have said it before, but it's very important. Don't ever touch any kind of meat-eating animal's scat, because they have a bacteria on it that is called streptococci, and it lives in the gums of carnivores. And that will obviously go right through in their scat and pass on, and will be present in their scat as well. And what happens is, if I get that, it's going to go into my gums as well, if I transfer it from my fingers to my mouth in any way whatsoever. And eventually, so it's going to get into my gums and migrate up into my brain. And on the brain, it makes a cyst on the brain, and the only way to get that removed is through brain surgery, and it can be extremely painful and something that you don't want to go through. So take my advice, don't touch scat with your hands. If you do, you must wash your hands with antibacterial soap as quickly as you can. Heidi, well, poo is just a synonym for defecation or feces or scat or dung. Why I say scat is because we normally discriminate between herbivores, omnivores, and carnivores. Herbivores, we say, have dung, because it's all vegetable matter. Omnivores, we say feces, and that includes humans and primates. And the carnivores, which are pure meat eaters, we say scat. Now, in this scat, it looks like a youngish leopard or a female. It looks rather small, rather thin. There is a slight bit of greenness in there, which is the indication of blood. There is, however, a lot of hair. There's the odd little bone fragment in there. There's quite a big one. So this is all passed through, and probably the third, fourth, or even fifth poo, defecation, scat after they have fed on whatever this is, because the first one being a very black slop, the second one hardening up a little bit, but mostly full of meat and blood, and then this being third, fourth, or fifth, passing through just bones and hair, which is all that would be left. And normally, once they start also getting towards the end of a carcass, that's pretty much what they are feeding on. So that's our poo lesson for the day. Hope you all enjoyed it. Don't put your hands onto carnivore scat. You might land up with a cyst on the brain. Now, I think Brent is with our grumpy buffalo. Let's see if he's changed his mood.
Well, I think this is actually a different buffalo from the one they saw earlier, because I heard he was heading north. I'm not sure. Maybe you guys can tell me. He's I'm at Treehouse Dam at the moment, having another loop looking for Hukamuri, and we came across this battled old warrior who is completely ignoring us and is just munching away. You see that? It is the same buffalo. Okay. And you can see he's been rubbing his horns on lots of different trees. There's a couple of reasons the buffalo do that, and especially on Timberti trees, because the milky latex is quite poisonous. It does help a little bit with flies and ticks around their face. Hey, big boy. Quite nice to see some buffalo bull around again. Managed to evade the Birminghams last night. Don't look at me like that. Mention the lion and get a filthy look. He's an impressive individual. Probably quite recently become a lone bull. just judging from his, just looking at him. Now, Jason's wondering if we can determine the weight of a buffalo. It's quite difficult, Jason, but I'd say he probably weighs around 500 to 600 kilos. Maybe even about between 450 and 550 kilos, I'd guess. Incredibly powerful creatures in Cape Buffalo. Okay, we're gonna still keep searching for a last minute leopard, but it sounds like David has found a lovely spiral horned antelope.
Yes, anytime you're out on a game drive, you never say never until the last minute. So we'll not be surprised if we see the spotted cat as we head home for breakfast. But in the meantime, we found the kudu here. It's a young male kudu there, and this is the greater kudu, and Craig just told me they are the only ones who get around this area. In Kenya, though not in the Masai Mara, you'll get both the greater and the lesser kudu. Strictly browsers, you'll always see them, eating leaves and twigs and fruits, little branches, occasionally flowers on the trees. Very seldom you'll see them eating grass. Dave, yes, you say you love their big ears. Me too. And one reason they have such big ears, because for them to survive where they are, they very accurately need to locate the sound of anything. So if anybody raises an alarm, they should be able to pick it up, because they are more found in such thickets, in habitats where they could not see the predators preying on them very, very easily. Their ears are very, very handy, and if you look at them, they keep moving them in different directions, because they need to pick any slight movement, any slight call of, either lions roaring or leopard sawing. That helps them a lot. Yes, the big ears are very, very useful to them. So they'll keep eating, swallow, and later on in the day, as it gets hotter, or they sit down or they stay under the shades, they'll start, regurgitating and chewing cud. There's a huge male in the back. I'm going to forward, Craig, just 2 meters, see whether you can catch that huge male there. It's got much bigger horns than the other we still be full. See that big male there? Let me forward a little bit. Oh, that's good. Can we keep going? Keep going. Back up. That's good. Oh, back up. See that huge bull there? Yes, and lovely, good size. See the fringe here on its neck and on the back. And you notice the big difference in colors. Well, he just went down to chew the cud. We were just talking a few minutes ago. And being ruminants, once they get to a particular level of eating or amount of grass, amount of food they have eaten, they'll just sit down and they rest and they just chew cud. And that's one of the big advantages of being a ruminant, because they are able to rest their bodies and also rest their brains, and they go like to an autopilot where they're like half awake and half resting as they chew the cud. Maybe Craig will have to come back with the ones that you see to your 12 o'clock or 1-ish there. See how they jump in there. I don't know why it's got to be jumpy for no good reason. I didn't see anything to worry it. Let me back up, Craig. Are you good? Yeah, well done. Good job. Just crouch there. Occasionally you'll get ticks and might come into those very short folds of skins where they can easily access blood, or when they feed on the blood from these kudus. And you notice the color was huge different. This one have more chestnut. The females, unlike the males, which are more grayish and definitely smaller in size. My Rafiki giraffe is still on the ground.
Well, everyone, I just wanted to show you here a little post next to the road. This is silver cluster leaf that has been attacked by an impala ram, and well, it seems like the ram definitely came off first best on this occasion, but you can see here with all this redness, he's been attacking this with his horns and rubbing it up and down and really showing what a man he is on this poor branch, and obviously eventually leaving quite a nice visual mark for any of his other mates that might think he can take on any of the area that he's dominating. Now we are standing here next to the other drive that is Brent, and he's been tickling Seb. So it was just in time, because we've managed to get ourselves a nice lift back. We've had a wonderful walk this morning, but this is the kind of thing that a ram impala will do to little bushes, and I think it's also a little bit of small man syndrome, like I was talking about with the mongoose. It's really not fair on the bush, I would say, but well, the other males then do get a good impression of what he's all about, even if the bush is now being slightly destroyed. Well, that's it. I think we're all going to have to pack up our bags and say that these leopards are giving us the runaround today. There's been tracks absolutely everywhere, fresh as anything. There's at least 2 males walking around, at least 1 female, which we think is Shudulu. There's potential that there's mating going on. We heard a bit of calling as well, but we just couldn't catch up with them. They're giving us the slip, but hopefully this afternoon, maybe Brent, maybe the other guys, I'm not sure if I'll be on this afternoon, but I'm sure that we're going to get closer and find out what's going on this afternoon. Okay, so seeing as we are with Brent, we might as well head over to him.
Okay, well, there's Herbie. So we came across Bushwalk. We're going to give them a lift so they can climb on while we're live here, and we'll start heading back towards camp. Herbie's going to jump. Where are you going to sit, Herb? Ah, there we go. Maybe now we'll find a leopard. So we've got the whole crew coming home with us. Sebastian's just getting his backpack off. And it is. We do try to give Bushwalk a lift if we find them far away from camp. Let's watch the rifle. There we go. Okay, this is fun. It's very cozy on the back there. Ralph, David, and Ralph, David, and Sebastian. Yes, all the Rafikis. If David taught you the Swahili word for friend today, I've got lots of Rafikis on my car now. So maybe the combined good vibes will produce a leopard for us in the last little moment of the show. Are they somewhere there? I'm pretty sure. Oh, here we go. Now people are flicking my hat off. Hang on. Mike's come out. Payback for my tickling of Sebastian. There we go. Herbie, everyone saying hello to you?
Hello, everyone.
There's Herbie. He says hello back. Now, as Ralph was saying, the leopards have really given everyone a run around this morning. I'm pretty sure that Tundi is somewhere between Leadwood and Drakensberg and Mamba Road, and Hukamuri and Shadulu are somewhere around here. And who knows where Hosanna is. Now, apparently, Rolf, they're wondering who's taller, you or me.
You are.
I think I am a bit taller, yeah. I'm 191 centimeters, if that makes any difference.
I'm 6'3".
So, 188 centimeters.
Okay.
So, yes, I'm a tiny bit taller than Ralph. Oh. Now, as I say, it has been a fun morning, even though the cats have been... Someone wants to know whose foot is? Who? What? Herbie, how's your foot today?
Yeah.
It's good. There we go. Herbie says his foot is fine. Now, as I say, I think this is the first time we've had this many people on a vehicle while live, but it is going to be fun. Oh, there's tracks everywhere. Now, Herbie and Rolf have been following these ones. But as I say, we're coming up to the last little bit of drive. It's been great having you on board, and I can't wait to do it all again in a few short hours for the Sunset Safari, and hopefully the cats will be out and about rather than hiding in the thickets, and I can find more than just a steenbok. Okay, from all of us here at Safari Live, bon nuit, adieu, see you tomorrow.